Welcome to APM Terminals Moín. We are very happy to have you in our facilities. Our mission is to operate the most efficient terminal in Latin America, one that is a symbol of safety and of sustainable development in harmony with the environment. At APM Terminals Moín, we have a commitment with safety. Please pay close attention to the following instructions. Remember that you're entering the terminal's operational area. It is very important that you wear the right personal protection equipment at all times. Additional PPE may be needed. At APM Terminals Moín, we have strict access control and compliance with the International ISPS Code, which provides continuous surveillance 24 hours a day. Non-authorized access to restricted areas in APM Terminals Moín constitutes a safety breach and is in violation of the ISPS Code. You must carry your badge on a visible position at all times in order to enter the terminal. All personnel will enter through the pedestrian access, where the security staff will conduct an inspection. In order to enter the operational area, use your badge and your fingerprint. In the case of contractors, or only a temporary badge, depending on the type of badge you received. You must keep the following safety rules in mind. The use of appropriate PPE in operational areas is mandatory. The life vest is mandatory if you're going to be at least 2 meters away from water. Always use the safety belt when operating any vehicle or machinery. The speed limit inside the terminal is 29 kilometers per hour. You must be sober when you enter the terminal. Never under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or narcotics. Entering with firearms or bladed weapons is not allowed. Using mobile phones while driving and walking inside operational areas is not allowed. It is strictly prohibited to walk inside the terminal except at the designated areas. In case of emergency, follow the instructions of the brigade staff and go to the muster points. At APM Terminals Moín, we have identified 5 common potentially fatal risks: transportation, suspended loads and lifting, working at height, stored energy, and control of contractors. In order to eliminate fatalities, we are establishing minimum controls for each of these 5 critical areas known as the Fatal 5. The following are some details of those controls, but they are not limited to these. Transportation. The safe and efficient movement of people and equipment around the facilities must be provided for. Operator safety. Never use equipment unless all safety devices are effectively working. Carry out a pre-operational inspection of the equipment before starting the operation. Only use equipment if you are trained and authorized to use for its intended purpose. Always drive safely. Look out for pedestrians. Adhere to speed limits. Obey all signs and traffic plans. Wear seat belts. Never use mobile devices while driving. Always secure unattended equipment. No seat, no ride. Work within the SWL, safe working load. Pedestrian safety. Always wear high visibility clothing where required. Be familiar with and make others aware of no walk zones at the facility and never enter these zones. Keep clear of moving equipment and stay where the driver can see you or knows where you are. When approaching mobile equipment, only do so when authorized and maintain eye contact where possible. When working around mobile equipment, identify and use safe zones. Be aware of your surroundings. Suspended loads and lifting. Make sure lifting devices have been inspected and are capable of lifting load. Position yourself safely. Never walk or stand under a suspended load. Never stand in a position where you could be pinned by a swinging load. Always identify safe zones. Make sure all people in the work area are positioned safely before commencing the lift. Always handle loads safely. Check lifting gear is in good working order and within the SWL. Make sure the load is slung, secured correctly. Make sure there are no loose items on the load. Have only one person directing operations at any time. When in doubt, do not lift. Work at height. Always use fall protection safety equipment when working at heights. Know which jobs require fall prevention and fall protection controls. Use work cages for all container top work on board vessels. Elevated work platforms and scaffolding. Harnesses and other fall protection systems. Use of personal flotation devices where there is a risk of falling in the water. Check all equipment is okay and correctly fitted before you start working at height of more than 1.8 meters. Only work at heights where you have been trained and authorized to do so. Stored energy. Always lock, tag, and test. Use the lockout, tag out, LOTO system during programmed intervention or repair of equipment that involves stored energy. Identify and recognize power sources: electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, other stored energy. Never work on live power sources. Always release or secure. Make sure the right equipment has been locked out. Ensure staff are competent in isolation procedures. Know which tasks require isolation. Only authorized personnel to work on power sources. Ensure all isolation procedures are adhered to. Ensure all guards and safety equipment are put back, reactivated. Permit to work protocols must always be followed. Contractors control. APM Terminals Moline will always assign a representative or host for any contracted works. Only authorized personnel to be on site. Are inducted to site. Have the capabilities to perform the work. Contractors must work within the agreed scope of activities with the appropriate equipment. Contractors must work under a work permit system. They must be provided with risk evaluation and a work plan. They must make sure to work with the correct tools and equipment. Work permits for high-risk work are required. Always conduct a risk evaluation and before starting any work to identify, analyze, and mitigate risks associated to your activities. Never accept an unsafe situation. Intervene and stop it while you can. You must have the capacity and the skills necessary to perform the activity you are conducting. What are your responsibilities as a contractor? As a contractor, you are responsible for complying and also for demanding compliance by your workers, subcontractors, suppliers, and visitors with environmental, safety, hygiene, and occupational health standards. According to the requirements contained in the APM Terminals Moline standards and the current Costa Rican legal requirements. As a contractor, you will submit to the HSSE department before the initiation of your work an occupational health, safety, and environmental plan according to the scope of your work, which must comply with the APM Terminals Moline standards and with the current legal standards. As a contractor, you are responsible for supervising that the equipment used is appropriate for the work and that your personnel is properly trained to use it. APM Terminals Moline will be able to inspect, assess, and audit the contractor's work based on the most restrictive standards, and will be able to request corrective and preventive actions to correct the irregularities detected. APM Terminals Moline reserves the right to cease, partially or entirely, any work in progress by the contractor which, in the opinion of APM Terminals Moline, is being conducted under risky or substandard conditions and/or which possess a threat against the physical safety, health, occupational hygiene of individuals or property, or that entails the potential risk of affecting or damaging the environment. The cost arising from said suspension will be borne exclusively by the contractor. As a contractor, you are liable for and exclusively assume all costs directly and indirectly related to environmental, safety, hygiene, and occupational health matters. As a contractor, you should designate a professional who will be responsible at the worksite for all health, safety, security, and environmental matters when work conditions are high risk. Taking pictures or videos is not allowed without the consent of the management of APM Terminals Moín. Removing any object, equipment, tool, etc. from the terminal is prohibited. Smoking is strictly prohibited in the terminal. Statements to the media are reserved for the official spokesperson of APM Terminals Moín. All vehicles must be parked in reverse position inside the terminal and must always use the rotating light inside the operational area. At APM Terminals Moín, entry of personnel under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or narcotics is not allowed. Entering with illegal substances is strictly prohibited. If you have any questions, ask your supervisor in charge. APM Terminals Moín has identified segregated zones and are recognizable as follows. Zone A, unrestricted zone that allows free access to any person or transportation. Zone B, walking is permitted only by persons who are aware of the risks and have been trained, inducted, and wearing PPE and have been authorized to do so. Or Zone C, no walk. Zone where walking by any person at any time is strictly prohibited other than in accordance with area isolation procedures. As example, all mobile equipment is stopped from entering that area. At APM Terminals Moín, we're committed to the preservation and sustainability of the environment. Use the appropriate bins for separating all waste according to its category and immediately report any spills. If you have any questions, ask the person in charge of your visit. Remember that we are here to assist you, and remember that at APM Terminals Moín, we are provided with emergency brigades ready to give us their support 24 hours a day. Thank you for watching this induction video. We appreciate your collaboration, and please always try to adopt a safety culture in which you take care of yourself and the people around you. We hope that you will have a pleasant visit to our facilities. Welcome!